honourable member for Stony Plain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud to rise today and share my thoughts in response to the speech from the throne. And I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge Alberta's Lieutenant Governor, the Honourable Lois Mitchell, who not only safeguards the constitutional traditions and principles of this House, but also engages with Albertans on a continual basis. It is by the examples set by strong women of our past and present that lay the groundwork for the change we expect to see in our future. So let's look to the future. Not today, not right now, to our children's and our grandchildren's future. We need an economy that is resilient to energy price swings, captures the full value of our resources, and offers a prosperous future for our children. We are working hard to improve public services, minimize the impact of the current recession on Alberta families, and mend the infrastructure deficit throughout Alberta. I'm very proud of the work we, as a government, have accomplished by reinstating the STEP program as well. I'm privileged to rise today to espouse my riding of Stony Plain, and I'm privileged and humbled to represent what is, I am sure, the most diverse, hardworking, and beautiful constituency in all of Alberta. We are farmers and ranchers, business leaders and entrepreneurs. We are coal miners and teachers. Our riding encompasses everything from Winterburn Road in Edmonton to the Pembina River, the North Saskatchewan in the south to the Yellowhead in the north, except that we scooch down around Spruce Grove. Stony Plain is one of the very few original ridings with the original name formed in 1905. The boundaries may have changed, but the location hasn't. The town of Stony Plain, historically known as Dog Rump Creek, is the town of the painted past due to our nearly 40 murals painted in various locations throughout the town. Another one of the great attractions in the town of Stony Plain is the Multicultural Heritage Centre, which is housed in the town's first school. One of the biggest draws at the Multicultural Centre is Homesteader's Kitchen, where you can get artisan breads, homemade soups, and an endless selection of homemade pie. And as a new draw for the Stony Plain region, Ryan Smith, the former player on the Edmonton Oilers, is now playing for the Stony Plain Eagles AAA senior men's team. The Multicultural Heritage Centre is just off Main Street. On Main Street, there are boutique shops of every description, from Village Fashions to Fina's, from Blue Diamond Jewelers to Bing's Restaurant. Across from my constituency office is Pet Foods, etc., and I'm kitty corner to the co-op. Recent census data shows that the town of Stony Plain has 16,127 residents, and Parkland County has 30,568 residents, a growing and vibrant community rich with culture and history. I'm advocating for infrastructure enhancements such as roads, vibrant businesses, local health resources, local agriculture, and our local schools. Rural tourism is a strong industry west of Edmonton. In one day, you can have a picnic at the Devonian Gardens, run through the corn maze, catch a fish for dinner at Jackfish Lake, and sleep under the stars at Wadman. It is a true destination located just around the corner. The Stony Plain constituency is on the traditional territory of Treaty 6. There are two Indigenous bands that also call Stony Plain home, the Enoch Cree First Nation and Paul First Nation, and I am proud of the ongoing work with these nations. As a result of what our government has heard from most of Alberta's Indigenous governments, we will repeal Bill 22 and will engage Indigenous communities on how the consultation they as nations would like to see to support the capacity of First Nation and Métis peoples. This government will also consult Indigenous people on a new Indigenous Peoples Sacred Ceremonial Objects Repatriation Act that would facilitate the return of sacred objects to the nations to whom they belong. These are tough economic times, especially for my constituency of Stony Plain. However, the residents in my constituency are resilient, innovative, and hardworking, and there is no doubt in my mind that we will get through this together. Taking care of the people around us while encouraging industry to grow are goals we need to work towards as a community, a government, and a province. To move forward in a careful, considered way while encouraging growth in consultation with those affected is of the highest importance. There will be a measured approach for the spring session at the legislature. We have laid the economic framework, and now it is time to tweak some of the smaller pieces so we can continue to play the role of a shock absorber for the economy and encourage diversification and job creation while in this downturn. We're also investing $34 billion in infrastructure to build the roads, schools, and other vital facilities Albertans need, which will help keep our tradespeople and our professionals at work. Investing in infrastructure, public health, and education have been priorities during this downturn. We have one of the youngest, strongest workforces in Canada, and maintaining that workforce is part of what will help get us through these rough times. Our greatest resource is our people, the way we care about and care for one another. Our government will continue to act with focus and determination to engage the citizens of Alberta in skills training, retraining, and expanding access to the workforce for people facing unemployment. We will ensure access to venture capital, updated credit union legislation, and of course, Bill 1, the Promoting Job Creation and Diversification Act, will help entrepreneurs and businesses in my riding to create new jobs and growth. The opposition members have obviously been listening to our Economic Development Minister's speeches, and they were paying attention to our announcements in our throne speech, as proven by the approximately 6 points of their 12-point job action plan that our government has obviously already mentioned. I'm excited to be able to share and discuss with my constituents in Stony Plain details about our expansion of access to workforce and skills training and retraining for the unemployed. This is a commitment for the present and the future of Albertans in our economy. We are extremely proud in Stony Plain to supply 40% of the energy for all of Alberta. In the region, there is Keep Hills, Sundance, and some work across the river at Genesee. Many more people support our energy by working at the Highvale Mine in pits 3 through 9. The hard work of our men and women ensure that people's lights stay on across our province. Over 1,300 people in the riding of Stony Plain help produce that power and will continue to do so for the next 14 years. New legislation will give force and effect to key elements of Alberta's climate leadership plan, such as phasing out harmful emissions from coal power generation by 2030 to protect our health and our environment. A modern royalty system will promote innovation and efficiency and provide full transparency and public accountability on the calculation of our royalties. Alberta is an economic leader, buoyed by our energy sector, and we know that right now we need leadership to ensure we get our product to Tidewater. The continued engagement on pipelines is proof that our government is fighting hard for Alberta, its interests, and its economy, and we will not back down. A fair number of Stony Plain residents are employed in the oil and gas sector, the sector that has seen some of the most drastic fluctuations of all industries in this past year. And I understand the stress that puts on our communities. To that end, our government is vigorously urging the federal government to take account of the current economic shock affecting the resource industry and reconsidering employment insurance rules that exclude too many Albertans from those much-needed benefits, those of us still around Edmonton. The new child benefit plan will help 380,000 children living in low-income households. The plan to create new jobs and opportunities while building on traditional economic strengths is what our province needs right now. My constituents have told me that, as I'm sure others have around the province. There are too many low-income households in Alberta. Many of those households are single-parent families. My beautiful children spent much of their lives in one of those households. We have lived in government-funded housing and other low-income situations. When my children and I moved to the capital region, it was so I could pursue educational opportunities. As a single parent, I returned to school, and one of my greatest accomplishments was earning my licensed practical nurse diploma. Though it was difficult, I taught my daughters pursuing an education is always worth the hard work, and I taught my son what a strong woman looks like. Since my partner, Will, has come into our lives, he has continued to encourage me to always strive for my goals, and he has supported my work as a nurse and as a legislator. As a nurse and a caregiver, the most important part of my job was service and advocacy. To serve those who couldn't always perform the activities of daily life that healthy people take for granted, and to advocate for those without a voice, to those who needed to hear the message. I spent a number of years working diligently with vulnerable populations. My first role was working with individuals with developmental disabilities. It is where I found my passion for healthcare And there were many challenges for both my clients and myself, and one of the biggest challenges was high staff turnover. It can take an individual who lives in care a minimum of 6 months to come to trust a new caregiver that comes into their lives due to the high turnover in that profession. When there is no trust between caregivers and clients, it makes many situations more dangerous and more difficult for both. Everything from personal care to outings are more stressful for the individuals and the caregivers. Unfortunately, if a client doesn't have capacity to emotionally handle stress, the person may, understandably, lash out at caregivers. And sometimes, due to these stresses, an individual may lose their housing supports. If a person loses their housing, the chances of other supports falling to the wayside is very high. People in this situation often run out of money, which leads to a person with no income on our streets. When the physical health of a person on the streets is compromised, and with luck, that person ends up in a hospital, the individual must stay in an acute care bed until supports are found for that person. This leads to many people staying in acute care beds for much longer than is needed. And as we all know, acute care beds are not the appropriate place for long-term care. This is why we are investing in health and housing. As an acute care nurse, I specialize in patients with acute stroke and acute geriatric patients. This involves many aspects of care, from total care to rehabilitation, from palliative care to dementia care. All care is essential, and every situation is unique. There's an old saying in nursing: they may not remember your name, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. There are many parallels between nursing and serving as an elected representative. Both professions are about serving people and advocating for them. When constituents contact my office in Stony Plain, many times that person is at the end of their rope. Whether it's an agency they are having difficulty contacting or not knowing what resources are available in our community, it is my job and the job of my staff to advocate for each and every constituent who contacts us. We advocate in many ways, from directing a constituent towards a resource to connecting the constituent to the services and supports in our community, to bringing forth their concerns to the relevant ministries. We also value the role that local government plays in supporting our interactions with local residents, and I am heartened by the opportunity this government will provide by inviting the public and municipal governments to comment on a modern Municipal Government Act. The Tri-Municipal Region, which encompasses the town of Stony Plain, City of Spruce Grove, and Parkland County, is well known for their strong cooperative projects and initiatives. It should be a model for every municipality in Alberta. Having a strong region makes for resilient communities, which makes for sustainable living. There are many ventures in our Tri-Municipal Region, such as the Tri-Municipal Leisure Centre, the Meridian Foundation, the Heritage Pavilion, the EMS facility, and the soon-to-be new RCMP detachment, in which 2, if not all 3 of these partners contributed. The Tri-Municipal Region works because a small community can do something good, but a strong region pulling together can do many great things. I'm proud to be a voice for Stony Plain and Parkland County residents and families in the Alberta Legislature, promoting solutions that will make Albertans' lives easier and more prosperous. This agenda is large and ambitious, but I support this initiative to create a better, more prosperous, more diversified, and more caring Alberta. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.